Greetings, Indie Warriors, and welcome to I Dream of Indie. They say that good things come in small packages. Let's find out in our full review of Tinykin on Steam PC. Look, being short has its advantages and disadvantages. One of the big disadvantages is whenever I go to a concert, I can't see over the huge, tall dude. That must really be a problem for the lead character of Tinykin. Tinykin is a 3D platformer collectathon of sorts that has clear inspirations from the Pikmin series. In Tinykin, you'll be in charge of lead character Milo, an archaeologist and researcher. While most people believe that human life began on the planet Aegis, Milo doesn't so much buy this theory. Milo is able to capture a signal that's way out somewhere on another planet, and so he wants to find the true origins of human life, and this is where you take over. Some of Tinykin's story is told through some really wonderfully animated cutscenes, but most of it is going to be text-based as you interact with different creatures and characters across your journey. The writing is halfway decent. It's not laugh out loud funny, but there's a little bit of wit, and I enjoyed most of the interactions. Milo as a character, not half bad, likable enough. I was almost reminded a little bit of the Paper Mario series in the writing and the graphical look too. I'll get into that a little bit more later. So overall, it's an entertaining enough tale. Gameplay in Tinykin mostly consists of 3D exploration. You have pretty large environments to go about, and you can approach them in a variety of different ways. Your main weapon, I guess you could call it, in this game is going to be the Tinykin that you collect. These Tinykin will help you solve different environmental puzzles along the way. There are different colored Tinykin that have different abilities. For example, some of your Tinykin act as bombs and they can clear paths for you, or there is an electric Tinykin. It can actually gather electricity for you, and you can chain different Tinykins together in order to connect to a power supply. In order to activate some of the events in this game, you'll need a certain amount of Tinykin, and that's really the heart of this title. A lot of exploring and a ton of collecting. Of course, as you would expect, this means a great deal of platforming, and in this title, the platforming doesn't feel half bad. The jumping is smooth and responsive. The game ran well at 170 frames per second for the duration of my playthrough, so that really helped to make the game feel nice and smooth. Milo can also glide in a bubble, and this bubble can be upgraded the more you play the game. The bubble will only last a short period of time depending on how many upgrades you have, and it will help you to float to otherwise unreachable areas. If you fall, no big deal. In fact, this game's not punishing at all. You'll mainly pick up exactly where you left off. This is not going to be a violent experience with any sort of real combat to speak of, but you do have a bar of soap that you can glide around on. There are certain railways and strings that you can slide down or up with your soap. This also helps with traversal, and I really like how the levels come together the more you explore them. Because of the open nature of Tinykin, you might fear you're going to get lost now and then, but fear not, you do have some reality goggles that you can slap on, and that points out some of the destinations you should head towards, some of the key areas. Overall, Tinykin is easy to pick up and play. It doesn't overwhelm you with a lot of different systems, and it's just good, clean fun. I was also quite charmed by the visual look of this game. Again, kind of like Paper Mario in a lot of ways. There are 3D backdrops with 2D characters. You never see your character's butt, so you're always going to be looking at the face, which is a little bit strange to be honest, but I got used to it. Much of this game takes place in different parts of a house, so at one point I was floating on a VHS tape. There's times where you're in a bathroom, going down a toilet, and different vents and stuff. It's really neat and imaginative. There were a few times in Tinykin where I got way up high, and you do get a good sense of scale. I felt my stomach drop a little bit looking down. You do feel tiny in this world. From the character animations to the characters themselves to the strange worlds that you find yourself in, I really thought Tinykin looked great from top to bottom. As far as the sound design is concerned, Tinykin has a lot of charm to it in that department as well. There's cute little animal noises when you talk to certain characters. The soundtrack is a little bit sparse, but it's charming when it does come up, and it really does fit the vibe of this game. The Tinykin will make cute little noises when you throw them or when you bump into other creatures throughout your journeys. You will also get little noises out of them. It's all, I guess the word for it is very cute. It comes together well with the graphical presentation. Tinykin feels to me like a product a lot of people will sleep on. My advice to you is check this game out, especially if you love 3D platformers. There is some neat puzzle design in it. The Tinykin themselves are so adorable to use, and there's some clever solutions in using them. And the game has really strong level design that comes together well. It also controls fluidly with a strong frame rate. Not a ton of settings to go through or anything like that, but this title doesn't doesn't really need them either. Beating Tinykin won't take you more than say 5 or 6 hours, but there's plenty of reasons to go back to these worlds as there are many optional collectibles. I don't think Tinykin is earth-shattering, but for a game with Tiny in the title, it offers up pretty big fun. Thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content here at 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐸. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors and legends that support this channel through channel memberships. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Adriana Amato, CJR, Julian Kolbis, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Christian Cruz, PSC, Solarusi, Chic Geek, Ancha277, Acrophobe, and Raphael Andrioli. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Nathan Moore, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Chiron, Jace Glover, King of the Hatch, Ophidian Mind, Lord Metroid, 𝐿𝐴 and Larkison. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for 𝐸𝐷REAMOFINDIE. Everybody else head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.